Good day, I'm Rick, a man of history and your guide to the past. Today I'm going to be adding just an extra video into the schedule. Today it's a feast day of a 3rd century Roman saint, patron of engaged couples, marriage, bees and beekeepers, love, the island of Lesbos, epilepsy and of course the plague. I refer naturally to Saint Valentine, but first a quick aside. As you can probably tell by the lateness of my posting this and the fact it's again shot in my office, I've decided to write and record this very much at the last minute. Please excuse the tardiness, the fact it's going to go up very late, the lack of geography when I promised you such. I promise I will get out and about again, but possibly not till the weather's better or I become more organised, or perhaps both. So, how did a 3rd century Roman saint become linked to roses and chocolates and love hearts and delicious confections of all kind? Let's speak to an expert and find out. You might well ask, who was Saint Valentine? Well, he's commonly held to have been either a priest in Rome or the Bishop of Terni in central Italy in the 3rd century. Whilst under arrest for preaching and being held in the house of Asterius, a judge, the pair discussed faith and the validity of Jesus. Asterius offered to have his blind daughter brought in to test the faith and power of the Christian God, and when Valentinus prayed and her sight was restored, Asterius asked what he should do. Valentinus instructed him to break the pagan icons and idols in his house, to fast for 3 days, and then to undergo baptism, which he, along with his family and his household, so did. Valentinus was later arrested again for preaching, and this time he was sent to the emperor Claudius Gothicus, who took a liking to the priest, until, that is, Valentinus attempted to convert the emperor as he had the judge. Claudius instructed Valentinus to either renounce his own faith or to face execution by being beaten to death with clubs. Beaten to death it was. The Legenda Aurea of Jacobus de Verona, compiled about 1260 and one of the most read books of the High Middle Ages, gives sufficient details of the saints for each day of the liturgical year to inspire a homily for each occasion. The very brief entry of St. Valentine states that he was executed for refusing to deny Christ by the order of the Emperor Claudius in the year 269. Before his head was cut off, this Valentine restored sight and hearing to the daughter of his jailer. Jacobus makes a play with the etymology of Valentine as containing valour. A popular hagiography, that is, the work of a life of a saint, appears in the Nuremberg Chronicle of 1493. Alongside a woodcut portrait of Valentine, the text states that he was a Roman priest martyred for his faith during the reign of Claudius Gothicus. He was arrested and imprisoned upon being caught marrying Christian couples, and likewise aiding Christians who were at that time persecuted by Claudius in Rome. Helping Christians, what was considered a crime in and of itself. However, the Emperor Claudius took a liking to this prisoner. Nevertheless, when Valentinus attempted to convert the emperor, he was condemned to death. He was beaten with clubs and stones, and when that failed to kill him, he was taken outside the Flaminian Gate in Rome and beheaded. But for all that, why the association with love of all things? Well, there are other popular legends ascribed to Saint Valentine. One is that in the 3rd century, Valentine, a priest, defied the order of the Emperor Claudius and secretly performed Christian weddings for couples, allowing the husbands involved to escape conscription into the Roman army, which was pagan. This legend claims that the soldiers were sparse, so this was a big inconvenience to the emperor and a cause of conflict between pagan emperor and Christian Romans. The account mentions that in order to remind these men of their vows and of God's love, Saint Valentine is said to have cut hearts from parchment, giving them to the persecuted Christians, a possible origin of the widespread use of hearts on St. Valentine's Day. Another legend is that Valentine refused to sacrifice to pagan gods. Being imprisoned for this, Valentine gave his testimony in prison and through his prayers healed the jailer's daughter who was suffering from blindness. On the day of his execution, he left her a note which was signed, "Your Valentine." During the Middle Ages, it's believed that birds pair in mid-February. So this was associated with the romance of Valentine. And although these legends differ, Valentine's Day is widely recognised as a day for romance and devotion and lovers. It's all well and good, but what made the 14th of February a perfect date for the celebration of earthly love? Well, Saint Valentine is said to be martyred on the 14th of February in the year 269, although other dates are given and years and are celebrated on other dates in, for example, the Orthodox calendar. The Feast of Saint Valentine, better known as Saint Valentine's Day, was established by the Pope in 496 to be celebrated on the 14th of February in honour of the Christian martyr. February 14th is St Valentine's Day in the Lutheran calendar of saints, and the Church of England had him there as well in the pre-Reformation calendars and restored his mention of bishop and martyr in the 1661-62 Book of Common Prayer with the restoration of the monarchy under Charles II. But that doesn't explain why people exchange plants and chocolates and heart-shaped gifts and cards, and why those cards don't feature Roman soldiers with clubs. Well, Geoffrey Chaucer, the great writer of Middle English, best known for his Canterbury Tales, published A Parliament of Fowls in 1382, which is a dream vision of birds choosing their mates. It's really the first inkling that mid-February might be the ideal romantic time. In more modern English, it reads, "For this was on St Valentine's Day, when every bird comes there to choose his match, of every kind that man may think of, and that so huge a noise that they begin to make, that earth and air and tree and every lake was so full that not easily was there space for me to stand, so full was all the place." This is the earliest reference that I know of to romantic love, and certainly as spring arrives and weather improves, albeit slowly, it is a time for birds and beasts to start pairing and breeding. However, Chaucer may have been referring to another Valentine, a Genoese saint, whose feast day is the 3rd of May, and that Richard II of England and his soon-to-be wife, Anne of Bohemia, they were engaged on the 2nd of May, and the poem was written in celebration of that engagement. The earliest description of February the 14th, then, as an annual celebration of love, appears in France, in the Charter of the Court of Love, except obviously in Middle French. It was allegedly issued by Charles VI of France in 1400, and it describes lavish festivities to be attended by several members of the royal court, including a feast, amorous song and poetry competitions, jousting and dancing, which all sounds very jolly. The earliest surviving Valentines in English appears to be those in the Paston Letters, written around 1477 by Marjorie Bruce to her future husband, John Paston. "My right well-beloved Valentine," she writes, where William Shakespeare has Ophelia lamenting about her Valentine in Hamlet. Ophelia declaims, "Tomorrow is St Valentine's Day, and all the morning betime, and I am made to your window to be your Valentine. Then up he rose and donned his clothes and dumped the chamber door, let in the maid that out a maid never departed more." Now the verse "Roses are red" echoes conventions traceable as far back as Edmund Spenser's epic The Fairy Queen of 1590. He wrote, "She bathed with roses red and violets blue, and all the sweetest flowers that in the forest grew," which is just charming, isn't it? Well, some of you might recognise the style of Valentine's Day poem from my time, the 1784 collection of English nursery rhymes called Gammer Gurton's Garland, which is something that's a little difficult to say after a sherry or two. "The rose is red, the violets blue, the honey sweet, and so are you. Thou art my love, and I am thine. I drew thee to my Valentine. The lot was cast, and then I drew, and fortune said it should be you." Which, on reflection, might not tell you all you really want to know about how an old Holy Roman became a patron of lovers, but I hope it's given you some food for thought. Very cool. Well, it seems there's a lot to be said about St Valentine and love, and I never even mentioned plagues once, although perhaps not so much to be said about St Valentine and love, and more to be said about St Valentine and love. I can only apologise if the reason a 3rd century Roman priest, probably, who was clubbed to death for not giving up his religion, probably, has become linked to mass-marketed romance and chocolate and hearts is unclear. If it helps at all, I confuse myself at times. Anyway, I hope you found this interesting or informative, and if you did, please like it and share it. Or make my Valentine's Day, do both. If you'd like to join me in the past again, please do follow me. And until next time, please stay safe, stay happy, and I'll see you next time. Farewell.